WJR.
Hi, this is Paul W. Smith with you Monday through Friday, 5:30 till 9, and with you all the time on WJR.com. Welcome into our third National City Roundtable, and my co-host, David P. Boyle, CPA, President and CEO of National City Bank for Michigan and Northwest Ohio. David, nice to be with you again.
Good morning, Paul. Good to see you.
The program is going well. We're getting lots of comments with our guests, and I think that we'll get that today as well as we welcome in from the Whitehall Group, the founder, Joe Bione. Joe is president, managing partner of Whitehall Group, 35 years experience in automotive and manufacturing. Mr. Bione's expertise includes the areas of restructuring, re-engineering, enterprise, lean, continuous improvement, and supply chain management. Joseph, nice to have you with us.
Thank you, Paul W. Good morning.
We also welcome Charles M. Moore, Senior Managing Director of the... sorry, we're going to have to fix that. Senior Managing Director of CMD. Yeah. They ought to put that right on your on your record.
That's right.
Brian, you'll be able to fix this, right? Yeah. All right.
That's the beauty of taping.
We also welcome Charles M. Moore, Senior Managing Director of CMD, Conway, MacKenzie, and Dunleavy. Chuck provides crisis management and turnaround consulting services to underperforming companies in the automotive, manufacturing, distribution, construction, and real estate industries. Gentlemen, nice to have you and your expertise with us here on WJR.com. I'm going to start with my co-host, David P. Boyle of National City Bank. And David, you know, based on all these recent events, so you look at the Bear Stearns sale. When I was in New York for the New York Auto Show recently, going by Bear Stearns right after they were sold for $2 a share. That was even before they were kicked up to $10 a share, but the week before they were $70, and the year before $140. So it was really a jarring circumstance and situation. The credit crisis now, or I call it the subprime fraud, the mounting corporate bankruptcies, the Fed's now reacting to the markets, going to fix things, which is scary for them to get more involved. Stock price fluctuations. We've had several weeks now of a down market. The question keeps coming up: are we in a recession, and if so, will it get better or worse? And I'm not sure how important it is to announce that we are or we aren't. If we're feeling like we are, we are.
I would agree with that. And you know, definitionally, a recession is 2 quarters of declining GDP. So you really don't know that you technically are in a recession until 2 quarters have passed. But it sure feels like we are. And Michigan has kind of led the economic downturn now that the rest of the country rather, is starting to feel. And I don't think it's going to get better anytime in the next 12 to 18 months. I think we're going to be continued to be challenged, and that's why our guests today are very important for your listeners to listen to some of the things that they're doing, and some of the things that a financial institution looks for in when companies hit a little speed bump. And so we'll get through that today, and some great information coming for your listeners.
Yeah, and speed bump is appropriate, David, because we're talking automotive with the expertise of these guys. And Joe Bione, just before we came on air, you were talking about some of your anecdotal evidence of just how bad things are and how many people are affected by bad things. You apparently attend in Florida some rather nice car auctions, generally speaking. And you've seen there that the dollar figures have dropped dramatically.
Absolutely, Paul W. David and I are both avid car collectors, and we often chat just about what's going on in the industry. And we were sitting in his office about a month ago talking about the Michigan economy, and somehow we switched over to the Barrett-Jackson Auto Auction in Arizona. And you know, that's a group of high net worth individuals with a good disposable income. And last year we think the number was like $120 million in sales, and this year it was barely 70 or 80. And not sure if that's a scientific analysis, but it certainly shows that something has changed.
Well, that is as good a way as you're going to find anything out. I remember long ago, the guy who used to run Magellan, Peter Lynch, telling me when I was on the air in New York, and he was sitting across from me in the studio, and he said, you'll know what's going on and what maybe a good stock is long before Wall Street will, if you just pay attention. If you're sitting in your office and you look out the window and you see a company across the street and you notice that more and more trucks are coming there and bringing more and more goods or taking more and more goods away, you say, that company's doing pretty well. And you look into a little further and you buy the stock, and it's long before Wall Street knows. And in the same way, you're getting that temperature with some pretty heavy hitters there in Arizona for the car auction. And I think, Chuck Moore, you've seen some of the same things. Now, I think you were in Florida, or both of you were in Florida. Everybody was in Florida but me.
I was not in Florida.
You were not in Florida? Well, you were in Arizona. And I was in California, which wasn't bad. But there were a lot of people in Florida. What kind of things did you see? Because what's interesting is when we would get out of Detroit, when we would get out of Michigan, we would generally see things were so much better. And it's still the case in a lot of areas. But what did you see when you were traveling?
Well, it's clear that the confidence of the consumer has declined rapidly. Whereas in Michigan, we've had a lot of people that have been concerned for a number of years. Generally speaking, around the country, as you mentioned, people were really doing quite well. Now, all of a sudden, the other areas of the country that were really fueling the growth, now consumers not only don't feel confident, but also the piggy bank that they were using, which is really the equity in their homes, has dried up. And so they don't get access to credit. Their confidence has really waned. And as a result, now here we are overall in the country with spending significantly down. And the businesses recognize that. And as a result, they're not investing because they're trying to conserve cash, wondering when it's going to turn around.
My co-host David kind of referred to this, and the reality here is in Michigan and with our Michigan companies and the way that we're affected, it could have been said, well, now the rest of the country is going to feel what we've been feeling. We're experts at handling this, so we should be able to handle all this fine because we've been dealing with it for a long time. What we have failed to take into account, I'm afraid, and I think, David, this is what you were referring to, was, wait a second, folks, this is how it was in Michigan when things were great or fine or okay elsewhere. We're ridiculous or foolish to think that it's not going to get worse in Michigan if it gets bad elsewhere.
And it will get worse in Michigan, I think, Paul. As consumers spend less, as concentrated as Michigan is in the auto industry, and that's obviously a big ticket purchase for a lot of people, people are delaying those purchases or they're buying used cars. And so what that does is it puts pressure on all of the auto manufacturers, their suppliers and the suppliers to the suppliers, who have already been facing 2 and 3 years of challenging times, and their companies just aren't as healthy as they were. And our concern is their ability to withstand further downward pressure in the economy, which, quite frankly, we think is just ahead of us, if not already started.
I think you're right, and I don't think anybody can predict how long we'll be in this position, how long Michigan will be in this position, but we can say for sure that it's not going to help. It's not going to. We aren't going to be able to sit back and say, boy, we're old veterans at this, so we're going to handle it. We're not veterans of how bad it can get. And each month or year we keep saying, well, glad that's behind us. Now we can look ahead to better things. And I thought I was seeing light at the end of the tunnel, but I also felt that if things started going south elsewhere, that we would feel it even more, and that's where we are.
And Paul W., there's one other thing that I think we keep missing. We are an auto community, and everyone thinks and lives and breathes auto, but there have been statistics out that say that auto affects 1 out of 7 jobs in the United States. In Michigan, it could be 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4. So the ripple effect, we think automotive, but it's much more than automotive. We're seeing our client base shift from traditional automotive manufacturing to service industries to the local Dairy Queen. Everyone is being affected by this.
And Joe, it's good that you point that out, because everyone is being affected by this and will continue to be affected by this. And I don't know that any one of us can put a prediction out there on where this could end, or if this is some sort of a cycle we'll have to go through.